So CNN has this article out entitled, at least 22 Democrats are running for 2020, and we're going to look at all of them. Now, the thing is, CNN did this weird thing where it was like, it started off with who was the most likely to run and win. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to start at the bottom and go up to these are the people who are least likely to win. Then we're going to go up. We're going to go to the people who have a better shot, and then we're going to go to the people who have a high chance of being a nominee in 2020 if they run. So let's start off. The first one is Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook. Just gonna... Mark Zuckerberg already? Just... Wow. Mark Zuckerberg, if he were to run, he'd be a joke candidate on a level of someone like Bobby Jindal or Jeb Bush, someone who we all just make fun of and no one actually votes for. In fact, I think Mark Zuckerberg, if he does run, will get one vote from himself, but he'll be registered as his secret identity, Dark Zuckerberg, because he'll be too embarrassed to vote for himself. That's the chance of him honestly getting anywhere. I mean, he's doing a Rust Belt tour in the United States. He is actively going around the United States. But just recently, Mark Zuckerberg has been like, I care about the working man. I care so much with my billions of dollars. And the fact that I steal all of their information and sell it for billions more dollars. That's Mark Zuckerberg for you. So he has no shot. In fact, I bet you he'll be our first candidate to get negative votes. That's how little of a chance I think he has. Now, granted, people did say the same thing about Donald Trump. So what type of president would he be? I honestly don't know. I imagine he'd be more like someone like Hillary Clinton's, where he'd just be like, I care, guys, I care, guys. Not give me your money so I can pretend I care. Just overall, no. Second one is Howard Schultz. He is the CEO of Starbucks, which is a fairly progressive company. It pays all its employees a living wage. It lets refugees work there, which I have mixed feelings on, but that's for another day. I think he could be a halfway decent president. I think he's progressive as it is, and I think, unlike someone like Donald Trump, he probably would understand that you can't run the government the way you run a business. But as for if he has a shot, maybe. I actually, because like CNN's like, oh, these are just like the joke candidates. I think Howard Schultz has a shot at least getting to Iowa if he runs. I don't think he'll be a nominee, but I do think if he does run, he has enough a chance to at least impact the primaries. Okay, next up is Sheryl Sandberg, who is Facebook's chief operator. She's the CEO of Facebook. The same thing I said about Mark Zuckerberg, basically. She'll basically just go, I care about the working class, which is why I sell their information to big IP that pays me so much. Except she'll have a female voice instead of a male voice. But hey, that's another story. That's basically the only difference I see between her running and Mark Zuckerberg running is that she'll be a female Mark Zuckerberg. That's it. Then there's Mark Cuban, who runs the Dallas Mavericks, which is a football team. He has no chance. I think the corporate Dems would run him as like he's a progressive Donald Trump. He's like so angry and bold, when in reality he has listed many things he agrees with Donald Trump on. And most of them are pro-corporate policies because he is still a businessman. In fact, he runs a football team. So, Mark Cuban, I think he could run. If the chances of him winning anything are very small, but existent at the same time. As for him being president, ha! As for him being a good president, ha! At best, he'll be another blue dog. Okay, this is the next tier. There's Martin OMalley. Now, Martin OMalley did run in 2016. He was third place. He got 110,000 votes, which may not sound like much until you realize outside of Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, the other three got single-digit votes. So he was actually third place, although really everyone after him was tied for fourth. So that's really not saying much. As for Martin OMalley himself, he's somewhere between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. But he's just... You ever seen, like, a cartoon depiction of a politician? That's Martin OMalley, even down to his look. You know, it's just... I'm Martin OMalley. Have you ever seen a politician before? It was probably Martin OMalley, and you didn't even know it. Because I am all politicians. He was the governor of Maryland from 2007 to 2015. I'm willing to give him that much. But his overall, the chances of him running are existent. The chances of him winning the primaries, if it's anything like his chance in 2016, it could happen. There's definitely enough of a base for Martin OMalley to be a serious threat if he does happen to run. But I don't think he's going to win the primaries. And if he gets the general election, well, Trump's second term for sure. Then there's Seth Moulton, who I actually had to look up because I've never heard of before. A few of these people I had to look up because I genuinely haven't heard of a couple of these guys. And here's the first thing I found when I Googled Seth Moulton. It was an article from Boston.com entitled, Seth Moulton repeatedly insists he isn't running for president. That's really my entire opinion on him. So the chance of him running, probably zero. The chance of him winning a primary, unless he runs against Mark Zuckerberg, I do not see him winning. Unless it's only him and Mark Zuckerberg, I do not see him winning. Chance of him winning a general election, you can't defeat if there's nothing there. That's just physically impossible. And that's really it. Next up is Mitch Landrieu. It's Landrieu. I never heard of this guy. It doesn't appear like anyone else has ever heard of this guy, based on how short his Wikipedia page is. Chances of him running exist probably. I don't know much about his positions. He has a chance, though. Then there's Amy Klobuchar. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I remember I first saw this article via Secular Talk when he was doing a video on it. I believe he called Amy Klobuchar Hillary Clinton light. I agree with that description completely. Basically, here's all you need to know. She voted for the Patriot Act. Favored the NSA during the Bush administration and voted for the Protect America Act, which was another indictment on the civil liberties. Basically, here's another one for you. She's progressive, but she has done a few good things. She voted to ban waterboarding, or she voted for an act that would ban waterboarding. She voted against bringing more troops into Iraq. You know, she's a mixed bag like Hillary Clinton, but the thing is, she's too corporatist. Like, voting for things like the Protect America Act, or supporting the NSA, no, I just can't. Then there's John Hickenlooper, who governed Colorado, legalized medical marijuana in Colorado. However, he later contradicted himself and said, oh, that was a bad idea for me to do, so... Oh, God. You're taking back a good decision you made, John Hickenlooper. Why would you do that? He limited the sale of 15-round magazines that could be bought, sold, or transferred within the state of Colorado when he was governor there. which I am against. He did, however, add background checks, which depends on what the background checks are being used for, and there's all sorts of other stuff I don't feel like getting into. So again, mixed bag. I think if he runs, it's gonna be like Ben Carson, or it's gonna be like, oh, he ran. There were some people who support him, like 5. Get out of the way so the people who matter go. They're basically gonna be like, okay, John, just get out of the way so the people who actually matter can run. Okay, next up there's Eric Garcia, who, if I remember correctly, I believe he hosted something with Bill Clinton about alternative energy when he was, I think, mayor. Again, not really familiar with his policies, but based on that alone, I think he could be decent. I need to hear more about his economic policies, though, in order for me to make an honest decision over whether or not he'd be a good candidate. Then there's Steve Bullock, who was the governor of Montana. Let me just read you a few of his policies. Streaming the regulatory permitting process and establishing a new permit tracking system, okay, in favor. Ensuring that government services meet the demands of job creators, okay. Supporting rapid growth in eastern Montana by making sure committees receive funds before or in preparation for natural resource development rather than afterwards. Okay, that sounds positive overall. Promoting the hiring of Montanians, is that even a word? First for jobs inside the state paid for by taxpayers' money. Okay. Just on that alone, I think Steve Bullock would be a good candidate overall. Because I'm in support of, especially if it's something that's taxpayer funded, I feel it should only be people inside the U.S. working. I think it should only be citizens of the U.S. that are doing jobs. I don't think companies should be allowed to move overseas. You guys know all this. So Steve Bullock looks like he could be a good president overall. I think he has a chance, but I don't think he'll get anywhere. Again, he's in that level where he'll probably have some big supporters, but most people will be like, he exists. Who cares? Hashtag nihilist politics. Next up is Chris Murphy, who supports healthcare reform, so yes. He introduced 2 acts in the Senate, I believe, in order to help people buy American, which, again, I'm in favor of. And he was in favor of some gun restriction, which, okay. So overall, he seems like a decent guy. I don't know. Chris Murphy seems like a decent guy overall. I doubt I would ever be like, yeah, Chris Murphy, yeah, unless it's against him and Zuckerberg. I'm sorry, I just can't get over that. Mark Zuckerberg running. But yeah, I definitely won't be like, yeah, Chris Murphy, 2020, yeah, to you guys, unless it's like him and someone else who I've just never heard of. Or someone like Joe Manchin, who isn't on this list, thankfully. But yeah, if he was the nominee, I would support him. Next up is Terry McAuliffe. I'm going to spell it out again. McAuliffe. As for him, he's once again for healthcare reform and wants to expand Medicaid. He wants to give voting rights back to ex-felons. He's pro-choice. He supported Affordable Care Act. He sounds really good overall. He supported same-sex marriage back when that was still illegal. And he actually does support getting rid of quite a few business taxes. And I don't mean like, oh, let's just cut all the taxes. No, he's just saying, hey, maybe we should just remove a couple of them. I'm not sure exactly which ones he wants to remove or what percentage that would be, but again, he sounds like someone I could support. He's higher than Chris Murphy for sure, but again, I don't think I'll give him a ringing endorsement. Then there's Tim Kaine. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Tim Kaine scares me. Tim Kaine was, if you don't remember, he was Hillary Clinton's choice for a vice president. Now, the thing is, with Tim Kaine, he has a great chance at the primaries. I was watching Secular Talk, and he was like, oh, Tim Kaine, I hope he runs just so I can laugh at him. Oh, ho, ho, ho. No. Tim Kaine has the connections. Tim Kaine has the DNC with him. Tim Kaine could win a primary. He could become a Democratic nominee. The problem is, Tim Kaine also has no chance at winning a presidency. And he shouldn't. He's for TPP. He was supporting Hillary Clinton, which to the point where he was, again, her vice presidential pick. Just no, basically. And if Tim Kaine does run, I will be viciously on this channel, just telling all of you why I can't stand him in detail. Because I really don't like Tim Kaine. I consider him on the level of someone like Manchin, or Wolf Blitzer, or, you know, Anderson Cooper, or NBC, or the Daily Banter. He's just on that level of Blue Dog for me. Trevor Noah's also there. You know, so he's just a clear Blue Dog. And remember how I was saying earlier, like, oh, I couldn't believe Zuckerberg would run? I'm gonna be honest. If it was Tim Kaine versus Mark Zuckerberg, I think Mark Zuckerberg would have 2 votes, and I'd be one of them. I'd go campaign for Zuckerberg over Kaine. I don't like Tim Kaine that much. And it's scary that he even has a chance. So Tim Kaine's basically on the very bottom of the list. Like, unless an actual Republican runs, like someone like Mitch McConnell or Paul Ryan runs as a Democrat in 2020, odds are I'm going to just be so campaigning so hard. So I don't want to say campaigning because I'm not actually running, but I'm just going to be sitting here. I'm just going to be talking so much against Tim Kaine because I don't like him at all. This is getting kind of long, so I'm just going to do like one-word reactions to a few of these people whenever possible. The first one I'm going to do a one-word reaction to is Jay Inslee. My one-word reaction is this. Wait, who? Has anyone ever heard of this guy? Then there's Kamala Harris, who I have done some research on. She just got into the Senate. Like, she's been in the Senate since January, so I don't really feel like I have much time to judge her as a whole, personally. But what we have got so far is that she supports gun control, which, no. However, she is also opposed to the death penalty, which is great. I am also against the death penalty. She supports immigration, which I think everyone does. She supports abortion. She's in favor of environmental reform. Okay, so again, yeah, I'd probably never give her a ringing endorsement. Probably never say, yeah, Kamala Harris, yeah. But again, if she were to become the nominee, I'd be fine with that. Then there's Al Franken, the former comedian. And I feel that could work because stand-up comedians have this way of really talking to people. I think that could work very well in Al Franken's favor. But at the same time, you know, plus he surprised people before. People were like, oh, you're not going to get into the Senate, Al Franken. You're just a comedian. And then Al Franken did get into the Senate, and maybe this could apply to the presidency, too. So yeah, I think Franken has a good shot. Although, this is on a side note. You know that conspiracy theory that Bill Hicks is Alex Jones? Well, I theorize that Al Franken is Lewis Black, because they look almost the exact same. Then there's Andrew Cuomo, and my reaction is the same. Who? Okay, well, I have a little bit more of a reaction for that. He was a two-term governor of New York and did actually implement some firearm restriction after Sandy Hook, which, no. Yeah, again, if you guys watch the show, you know I am an opponent of gun control, which kind of sucks for me, because I am liberal most of the time. Then we get into guns, so I'm like, okay, who's your perfect liberal candidate? I'm like, oh, God, well, I'm against gun control, so already pretty much 95% of them aren't it. And the ones that are tend to be blue dogs, but that's another story. And then the last one they have in the second tier is Cory Booker. He is essentially the bluest dog of them all. He was against Bernie Sanders' bill, which would import drugs from Canada, and he was like, I just want to be safe, you know, the FDA. What if they don't regulate them? Regulations are stricter in Canada, Cory. And then, of course, Cory co-sponsored the bill pretty much next opportunity he got, saying, I'm for it now. I'm Cory Booker. Please forget my previous positions. No, Cory. No. Bad Cory. You do not argue with Bernie Sanders. Or if you do, you have to have a good reason for it, not just, I am trying to excuse my shillery. He also, I believe, backed Hillary over Bernie. So, yeah, right there's a reason to hate him. Okay, well, now we're in the major tier, the three who have the best chance. The first one is Elizabeth Warren. Yes, I think Warren could work very well. Honestly, I think that if Sanders does not run and get the nominee, it will more than likely be Elizabeth Warren. Or some new candidate that the Justice Democrats prop up that we haven't heard of yet. But yeah, Elizabeth Warren, very progressive. I think she has a good chance of doing it. Then there's Bernie Sanders, my man. Well, okay, I don't actually know him. Bernie Sanders is someone who I am a supporter of. I was supporting during the primaries. I don't think I was making political videos yet. I don't think my first political videos were until the summer of last year, which was when, Hillary already won. I've gotten a lot more political since then, of course, like this video right now. But yeah, I was a Bernie supporter during the 2016 primaries. I think Bernie's ideas would be great for the country. However, there is one caveat. I'm going to admit there are a lot of people out there who are like, oh, look at Bernie Sanders. Look at how old he is. He can't run. He's so old. Did I mention he's old yet? Look at how old he is. He's like 800 million. No. Plus, Bernie Sanders' ideas are very popular with the people. So I think if a Bernie-like candidate were to run, I definitely support them again, like Elizabeth Warren. I'll admit, I think Bernie is the best out of the people they list here. However, if a candidate with almost the exact same ideas that was younger were to run in 2020, I'd probably support them in the end over Bernie. But that's a very huge if, and I honestly do not see that happening. Plus, again, a Bernie-like candidate lost by 7% in a deep red district in Kansas. If we can only barely lose in Kansas, we can win everywhere else. Again, it was normally this in that district. Here it was this. If it wasn't that particular district, I guarantee it would have been like this. We would have won. And lastly is Joe Biden, who a lot of people expected to run in 2016. He didn't. Assuming he follows similar positions to Obama, I don't feel he'll be progressive enough. But do I think he has a shot? Yes. Do I think he has a chance at the nominee? More than likely. Do I think he has a chance at the presidency? Yes. I think, honestly, out of this entire article, the only people who I think really have a chance in the end are Bernie Sanders, who I would support, Elizabeth Warren, who I would support, Joe Biden, who I'd begrudgingly support, but support nonetheless, Cory Booker, who, listen, if you want to give Trump 4 more years, just don't run anyone at that point. And I would never support, ever, unless he was basically, unless he really, really cleans up his act. Like, and I'm talking doesn't do anything that I disagree with for the entirety of the next 3 years. Then, maybe, but he left a bad first impression. And Tim Kaine, who, no, we're not watching Tim Kaine fail. And that's really it. I'm Sifro Joe, and this was pretty long overall.